Sad thing is, it seems like Hayden Panettieres' life was sad from the very beginning. Hello, everyone, and what is up, winning team? And yes, we're talking about Hayden, who just passed at the very, very, very young age of 36, which is so sad to think about. And I really wanted to come talk to you guys and go a bit deeper with this whole story because you guys know I say this all the time, that a lot of people, they want things, but they don't know what the cost is. Like everything, I always say to you guys that things look so glitz and glam when you're watching TV and you're seeing celebrities, and everybody yearns for that. They want money, they want power, and they want fame. And I keep saying to you guys that not all that glitters is gold, and a lot of things that glitter are not gold, are in fact very dark, which is where we're going with this story, because actually this poor young lady started her career at 11 months of age. And there's a few things I want to address about that, and a few things I want to talk about that I don't think anybody else is probably going to say, because, well, we'll get to why I think no one's going to say it or really delve into it in a second. But I feel like it's important to highlight, especially because you guys know this has kind of been the foundation of this channel, is me the entertainment industry has been the biggest probably topic we always have spoken about since the beginning. We started with Britney Spears, and I've said to you guys that, one of the darkest things I think about this world in general is how you never really know what people are suffering through or going through while you're watching them. Because growing up, I used to love her. She was in a lot of different things that I watched, and most notably to me was Bring It On, which I loved. The Bring It On movies. I don't know what it was about them. I think I kind of found them a bit corny in a really fun way, but I loved those movies, and I always thought she was an incredible actress, and I'd seen her in other things as well. And I'm looking at it now. I think the really dark thing about growing up in this time scale that we're all living in right now is recognizing, hold on a second. Sorry, I just realized I didn't pray about being outside. I have to make sure that, the Lord is sending in the entourage of my angels. Which is actually the other sad thing, actually, to even go there. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about, just the fact that she's passed away, and how, as much as, you guys know I go on and on about, Jesus and stuff, this is where this stuff matters, because I say the only way you get out of the industry safely, right, is you have to be with the Lord. That's what nobody really seems to understand. Because why? Because Jesus defeated death. So the one thing that the enemy can dingle dangle in front of you or use against you, the worst thing, right? Because as long as there's a tomorrow, there's a possibility for a change. And that's what's sad about this story for me, because obviously it's another one of those, she was struggled with drugs and alcoholism and she was an addict. I'm so sick of that storyline, by the way. Why do we think these things happen? Because she was probably coping with everything that she'd been through. The young lady, right, she started off at 11 months old. In her mum put her in a TV commercial. Now this brings me on to another topic that I realized today. I was like, I can't avoid this, because I've been avoiding talking about this, so I'm just going to say it now. We need to address the mothers that aren't mothers in the world, and we need to stop giving mothers this automatic pass because they open their legs one day and let a man ejaculate inside them, and now they're infallible. This is the exact reason women like her mother, Britney Spears' mother, Kris Jenner, all these women, these are the women why I don't want to have a child. And I talk about that a lot because one of the things people talk to me about all the time, unfortunately, being 29 years of age, adults are always asking me, it could be in casual conversation, I'm just minding my business. People always ask me, so are you going to settle down, have children? Oh, you sure having children is a beautiful thing? I'm like, it really is. But you see, this place, it sucks. It sucks. So why am I going to bring them here, especially when women like her mother get away with this stuff? I don't want to be here. If society is the type of society that continually like protects these women and they get away with it. And this is the topic I've not wanted to talk about, and I've been avoiding talking about this for how long? I'm trying to think how long I've been avoiding this. A couple of years. I've been avoiding to like really honing down, but I know this is kind of like the topic I have to like address because nobody else is going to, because like I said, apparently as soon as you have a child, you're infallible, you know, and that's something I've come up against, you know, even just working with kids since I was, and that's what's so interesting as well, where I've worked with children my whole entire life, because I don't have a child myself, that has always been the like invalidating point, like, oh, well, you can't talk because you've never had kids. Because if you had kids, you would understand why Kris Jenner's like pimping out her children. And if you had kids, you'd understand why Britney Spears is, you know what I mean? That's what it sounds like to me. But let's get into it, right? So she's being put into commercials. I think about this a lot, yeah. Going even back to the fact she was in Bring It On and Cheer. When I used to go to the cheer competitions, yeah, this is what I mean when I say this video is probably not going to be like the other ones people are talking about. But when I used to go to the cheer competitions, it was a lot of fun. And I did cheer like as an adult, because I did cheer for the first time at university. And then I also did it after university for like a year. Did I do it for a year? In fact, I only did it for one season. One season? I can't remember. But anyway. But what used to kind of creep me out at competitions is usually like the younger ones would be like earlier in the day. So like when we're arriving, the kids are already doing their routines. And I'll be very like, it didn't sit right with me seeing A, how the young girls were dressed, and B, the types of music and dance moves they were doing. Because there's actually just no need. Like, especially again, as somebody who's always been into dance, like, and always did dance, you know, time and place, you know what I mean? Like when I used to dance as a teenager, I wasn't out here actually trying to be a seductress. You know what I mean? It wasn't about that. And I enjoyed dancing. It didn't have to be about that. So this is why this stuff, it really bothers me, because I'm like, at some point, like, do we not protect kids in certain situations? Like, do we really need to be putting our babies? This is where I'm just like, to me, that's like the first thing that makes me like turn my head. Like, did we need to have our daughter in the commercial? And you're going to see why I say this, because that sounds like a seemingly small thing without the context of everything else I'm going to say, which is kind of always the point, isn't it? Is that you have to build the whole story. And this is why I think they get away with it, because it's never just one event. You know, this is where I think the things that men and women do, I say this all the time, I think us women can be the most heinous, because a lot of things to do with men is to do with the fact of them being physical and aggressive and all this stuff. And it's a lot more in your face. And a lot of things that women do can be put under the guise of, I just wanted to be loving and I just was supportive and I just am so unconditional this. Bull crap, in my opinion. And so I'm like, So anyway, that's my first side eye. I'm like, okay, they're a baby. Because it's the same way I feel about people when they're on social media these days. When they're like, oh, you know, my children, I show them on the internet or I show them wherever, but when they're old enough, if they don't want to be online, I'll take them off. And I'm like, no, because you've taken away their opportunity to like have their own life, because now they are on the internet and they're going to meet people who are going to be like, oh my gosh, I loved when you guys had your 5th birthday party and it was Bluey themed. You know what I mean? Like you've actually robbed them of their chance in life to be their own person and create their own story. And to me, that's what I feel like the job of a mother is. If you ask me, I don't know, I just be with the Lord and I'd be outside in the nature. But I feel like it's your job to allow them to become whoever like God created them to be, and create like a safe environment so that, you know, at the right time, they're exposed to things in the right way, and they're also protected in the right things, and they're also nurtured, and they're also, you know, so I feel very strongly and deeply about this whole thing, you know. And I was even thinking this the other day, a couple of days ago, I was just sat at the park. I was actually recording a video, and the video never came out because I was a wreck. I was just crying watching all the kids, yeah. And they were playing and they were so happy and they were just like laughing and, you know, just doing kid stuff. You know what I mean? In the park, some of them were playing in the playground, some of them were on the field, you know, then you had, you know, and it was just so cute. You have the little groups, like the siblings, and then there's always like the youngest one who's like just running behind and just could barely keep up. And I was crying my eyes out because I was thinking, this is the world that these kids are coming into and they have no idea. You know what I mean? And it's stuff like this, and it's us, the world, who then watches people like Hayden and all these folks and covet the lives they have, not knowing like what they're actually going through. And again, my thing is like, but if you really loved your child, like I ask myself that question a lot of times with adults, but if you really love your child, like what is this actually about? Which is where this takes us. Because anyway, obviously, she started in the industry that young. And she never stopped, right? Her mum's putting her into all of this. And again, I find this to get another one of these things that a lot of these parents seem to do in Hollywood. And in many ways is, well, we didn't have any money and they needed an actress, so we had to do this to provide for the family, which again circles me back to why I say, so when people are telling me to have a baby, why am I not having a baby, or someone wants to have a baby with me? And I'm like, what are the logistics? Maybe we think about the logistics beforehand. Maybe we think about if we can afford said children before, if that's the reason. Because then, as we've seen, we saw it with JoJo. She, at 13, why did she sign the contract with the industry? One of the worst contracts we ever covered on this channel. Because her and her mum had no money. She put onto herself all the pressure of having to provide for the family. Because these kids always end up being the ones that provide for the family. And that's another thing I find very backwards about society, is that this whole normalization that like kids are supposed to become providers for the elders that came before them. Or as if as soon as the kids have anything, it needs to go backwards. Because for me, that's like a generational curse in itself. If you have to put money in the generation that came before, that puts you in a bad position. That means that the generation that comes from you has to put money back into you. The money's always going backwards and you're never building wealth. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big issue. And this is what I'm saying. These are conversations people are not ready to have. Because when I say that, people go, yeah, but it's my family. And I'm like, so, yeah, that's true. But also, this is reality. That might be your family, but it's reality that if you are, like, always paying backwards, like, we're supposed to pay forward. Like, that's why, like I even say, for me, I'm okay with like being in my generation and just trying to pay as much forward for them as I can, because I hope that they're better off than me. Like I really do. Like all the younger ones, because like I always talk about being the oldest of Gen Z and being very proud of it. I really hope, it's my strongest desire that like everything that I'm doing, even these videos that I'm making, like when I see these kids, like when I was at the park and I was crying because I was thinking to myself, God, please like help so that these kids, none of these kids have to see the world the way I do or have gone through the things I have. Like help me to like actually make a difference to society, because it's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good. And so that's what makes me sad. So obviously she's been in the industry and she was helping provide and this, that and the other. And the reason why I brought up her mum in this case is because, of course, eventually, once she was an adult, because this is what I mean, what I feel like I keep seeing in people, I'm really going to say it, is I feel like people go through stuff. I was talking about this yesterday. I was saying, I find it fascinating that people have no problem with excusing heinous behavior. I was talking about this when it comes to Christian folks. You can grow up and like, you come from a Christian community or Mormons or whatever, and maybe all of the young girls were all abused and all of this. And when you then as an adult, start going to therapy and stuff, you're happy to throw God out, but the actual people abusing you keep in your life. Why? Because they're family. Right. That's what's wrong with it. And that's why I think people aren't actually healing, by the way, for like a lot of stuff, because they're not getting to the crux of it. And that's why I said I don't think it's fair that God's always the one being thrown out. And I feel like it's because it's the convenient one. Because if you now have to address, say, the community you grew up in, or say like even where I'm at, like now, say like the town I grew up in, or the church that my family's been going to for generations, or, my long-term friendship group or my family, whatever, then it becomes difficult. And so I feel like we, as a society, we take the easy option of like never actually like calling out who's at fault in the situation, which is what happened with her. Because eventually she then writes a book as an adult. Like I said, I feel like people go through their childhood, and as kids, what's going on with the dogs out there? Not that other dog over there trying to chime in as well. Oh, I so wish I was over there so I could see what was happening. That dog Loki's trying to get involved on the beef. What's the tea, guys? What is the tea? Bro, what is going on with these dogs? as I was saying, okay, they're done. They're done. This one's still barking. I really don't like. Anyway, so anyway, oh, I'm so distracted. It's because I was feeling concerned. Like, my automatic thing with everything is to feel concerned. I think in life, and it's kind of because of stories like this. And I feel like, again, working with kids my whole life is kind of like, I just am very sensitive, like, to just things. So, I feel like a lot of people, they grow up, and then once you get to adulthood and it all hits in the prefrontal lobe, have you noticed also, another interesting thing, they keep moving the benchmark of when they're saying a brain is fully developed, because now they're trying to say it's when you're 33 and all this and all that, which again, I think is another scam, because listen, unless you're going to make that the legal adult age, I don't care, because I'm expected to make decisions as if I've got a prefrontal lobe from the moment I turn 18, which is just another thing in society that I'm like, how have we allowed it to get to a point where in order for us to exist, we now have to have a physical number, by law, of what's legal, like for a lot of things. Even if you think about in Hollywood and stuff, right? They have all these laws about how many hours kids can and can't do. Why did they put them in place? Because people were happy to take advantage of the children. And this is again where I'm saying, so we're not a loving world, and you're not loving parents. Well, I won't speak for the fathers because I'm not a man. But in my opinion, you're not a loving mother. Like you're not, because you like, kids should be like having a childhood, like, you know what I mean? They should be enjoying themselves and discovering life and exploring things and, feeling built up and being confident in themselves and, like finding the path in life for them. Not being like workhorses, because there's a lot of things that kids have to do these days from really young. And this is where I know that the older generations are broken, because a lot of them, they're like, yeah, well, when I was 5 years old, I used to go and do the grocery shopping by myself. You know what I mean? And when we were at school, our teachers used to beat us and stuff. And I'm like, what was actually achieved by that? Because you guys, this is the world you people created. And if this is the world you people created with all of that stuff you like to brag about, then that's the problem, isn't it? It seems like that was a problem. It seems like that wasn't a good thing, which is kind of what I'm trying to say here. And so, it does make me super sad from that aspect. So I'm like, everything's not adding up to me. And I've been talking on this channel all about Adam and Eve and how everything went wrong in the garden. And it's just like, I was right. Go find my book. It's on Amazon, The End of the Beginning. I was right. I was right. Would you believe it? Because it's what we keep seeing. So in her book anyways, when people become adults, they're then faced with the truth. And you find yourself down one of a few paths. The new sexy way of dealing with things is, I go to therapy, I'm on medication for these mental health disorders, I've had to learn boundaries. And like, I've said this to you guys, I have an issue with this conversation around boundaries, okay? And the reason is, again, why does there need to be an age for consent? Why are people why are you looking at a kid and going, oh, okay, you're 18. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm interested in you. Oh, you're 17. Oh, sorry, I can't, you're underage. So it's like, that doesn't change the fact that you were attracted to a child just because you didn't do anything, because you asked them their physical age. Bewilders me. So that's another thing that I find very strange, where I'm just like, just similar with boundaries. It's like, why does boundaries have to be taught? Like, I don't think love is that hard, you guys. Can I just say that? I think if you actually care about somebody, then you would respect them when they communicate something. You wouldn't have to have 1,000 conversations, because people would be like, so we went to family therapy so I could try and work through getting so-and-so to respect my boundaries with such. I'm just like, I actually hate it here. Do you guys understand why I hate it here? I actually hate it here, because what do you mean you have to explain as to why this is your boundary and why they shouldn't? If they cared, why would you want to, like, you see me, guys, I am very sensitive to hurting people. I really care a lot about, like, not hurting people. And I have a lot of guilt that I deal with all the time. Because to me, if I can see something I'm doing is causing somebody else distress, it makes me feel sick. Do you know what I mean? I can see it with my eyes. So sometimes I'm even in situations, yeah, where I'm looking at people and I'm looking at a dynamic, yeah. It could be like two best friends. And I'm like looking at them. And I'm looking at how one person is like talking to the other or treating the other one. And the person who's like treating them badly, I'm like, does it not sit wrong with you that this person looks distressed? This person is clearly sad. This person is clearly uncomfortable. This person is clearly upset. Does that not track to you as an issue? Because I'm uncomfortable and I'm not even the person this is happening to. Stuff like this. So yeah, people go down that track, or then they go down the track of, you know, addressing it head on, right? Which is what we're trying to do here. Very rare. Or you end up on the other track, the less sexy one. No way. I'm gonna have to walk all the way back around. That's so annoying. Or they go down the other track, they're closing the footway. Or you have to go the other way, where you end up on the coping mechanisms. Why is my shoelace? Hold on. 1 second, everybody. I got to do my shoelace again. Bruh. Yeah, you end up down the track of severe coping mechanisms, which in my opinion take on the form of addictions a lot of the times, which there's a whole scale of types of addictions, because it's not just the usual ones. There are also sexy addictions, like drinking too much coffee, being a workaholic, stuff like that. Or you have the coping mechanism of like finding an identity in something else. I don't want to get super deep about this right here in this video, but like that's why one of the reasons I think a lot of people are like really, really desperate to like have this identity in stuff. Like, I am this and I belong to this group and you respect me for this. To me, that's a trauma response. They're all trauma responses, in my opinion. That's why when people talk about healing or whatever, I'm like, I don't know about that. But anyway, so there's that, right? So, of course, she, as many celebrities do, finds herself on the far end of, like, abusing drugs and alcohol, supposedly, which I have an issue with that, because just like a lot of others, she was a lot of other people, which is another thing no one ever talks about, seemingly coincidental. A lot of these child stars and people are given drugs as kids. So even like the kids on Victorious, right? Another show I watched growing up. This one, like, seeing what was actually going on behind the scenes. This has entirely ruined my own childhood, by the way. This is why I don't want my kids one day, to be enjoying life like I was, watching Bring It On and like listening to Britney Spears and all these things, to then grow up and become an adult and realize that these people suffered for all of it, because now it puts such a dark cloud over for the rest of my life, actually. So why would I subject my own child to that as well? Is my other question. And so they've given drugs young, like the Victorious cast, they were always drunk. And this is my other problem. When all this stuff is happening, they're being given drugs. They were giving alcohol, all this stuff at very young ages, right? Drew Barrymore was another one who excommunicated herself at 13, which is essentially what Hayden did. Also kind of, is that the word? Emancipated herself. Will Smith's son wanted to emancipate himself as well from the family. Then the kids turn out weird, or they, like I say, and everyone goes, oh, I don't know what's wrong with the whatevers. Well, look at Jaden and he sounds crazy. He's a psycho. And it's like, it's the same way I feel about Kim Kardashian. People are like, she should value her body and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, the person who should have been the number one person teaching her about valuing her body was the one pimping her body. So, you know what I'm saying? It's the same way I feel about that OnlyFans girl. What's her name? Lily, is it? Lily Phillips, again, super young. So again, why is it that always the girls who go onto these sites and stuff, when they become on OnlyFans, they start on OnlyFans? Like, there was that other girl, Piper Rockell, and her mom had been prostituting her. And then I think literally like the day she turned of age, she started on OnlyFans. It's dark. Or like when Bad Baby, another example, the Cashmere Side girl. How about that? Everyone was all like, oh, she's crazy, this, that, and the other. What's wrong with her? And all this. It's so funny being in the UK and England like this at the summer. The summer makes me laugh because there's always extra rubbish outside everybody's house. And all it is alcohol. So funny. Anyway. And She went on Dr. Phil again. These shows that were very weird. Why are you putting your child out on blast? If they really need help and you really love them, you should like bring them in and like bring them into a place of safety where you can do the work and not put them out on blast, which is another thing that parents like to do, is tell the world their business of what their children are doing. But another thing that makes me really very uncomfortable. And so the whole world saw her like that and was feeling sorry for her mum. Little did they know that it was her mum who was actually the problem, because then even once she did finally make all the money, she didn't have any money once she turned 18, which is part of the reason she started OnlyFans, because her mum had taken all of it, because of course she's the legal guardian. You know what I'm saying? How many more examples must I give of this stuff? How many more examples must I give? You know what I'm saying? I think this is the same with Chris Brown's mum as well, because she's always like, oh my gosh, we love Joyce, Chris Brown. I'm like, bro's just been arrested again, I swear. He's on and off the drugs. He's like living a lifestyle that I wouldn't want for my own son, yeah? And why is she just there supporting what he's doing, watching him consistently create destruction in his life? Because she's loving the money. This is where I'm like, I don't like parents. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Because the funny thing I realized is there's always like extremes. So like the other parents of the world, they are like the extreme opposite of what I'm talking about right now. And it's like black and white. Anywho, so she writes a book. And in there she talks about how she, went no contact with her mother, right? And which of course her mother then jumps to go and play victim, as they all do. And people jump behind her and she's like, I did everything for you. It's always like, I did everything for you. Can I say something? That's your job. That's what you signed up for. When you were talking about how you've always wanted to be a mother and you always wanted to this and you wanted to do this. So like the men are like, I want to continue my bloodline and my legacy. That's what you signed up for, you idiots. You flipping idiots. I put a roof over your head and clothes on the table and food on the table and clothes on your back. That's what you signed up for. What did you want your child to do when it came out of the womb? Get a job. And this is why everybody loves it. Like, 18. Yep. Done with you now. Go off and figure it out. You're an adult now. Yeah. This is why I feel for kids. When I see, like, even my job again, when they're coming like 16, 17, I'm like, I find it very mentally stressful for me, because I'm like, oh gosh, I know where this goes. And it's not going good. It's not going good. And again, I feel like it continues because older generations are too bitter to address where they went wrong, and too prideful to allow themselves to actually heal from whatever happened to them. This is what I mean when I say, well, everyone's healing, and I'm trying to see where the evidence is. Nevertheless, so eventually people are like, well, she was on and off drugs. And you know, this is what also the entertainment industry loves. This is why the devil, he loves these parents. He loves them so much. As soon as people start in the news, they're on drugs, then he's, why do all these stars always end up on drugs? Why do these stars, they always fall away? I freaking wonder why, you guys. Like, it's a question I've asked many, many times before. And you hear me ask it, like, always. Do you think anybody wakes up wanting to destroy their life? Do you think anybody wakes up in the morning and goes, hey, you know what I want to do today? I want to become an absolute ball of chaos and destroy my own life and negatively affect the lives of those around me. The fact that everything people think about always goes back to everybody except the victim is what I hate about society. Because even with this, the reason why I haven't found out about this girl's mum is because people are like, oh, her poor mother. So again, we're not even at least bringing the father into this. This is a 50-50. It takes two to tango. Okay, that is the fruit of some man's loin. So you better let's bringing them in the room, which is another problem I have with mothers. Yeah, another problem. When you talk about things like when you want a man to be accountable to like being a father, but then you don't want to give him his 50-50 share in the parental experience, and then you get upset. So like you talk about them as like my kids and what I'm doing with my children. Yeah, I think that's a problematic word if you're a parent talking to the other parent about your children. Just want to say, or if you have that mindset in any kind of way. And there's a lot of ladies out there, a lot of women. So I'm like, everything I got to say on this topic, as if I didn't have enough people that don't like me as it stands. And so, yeah, so what do you expect? It's your kid. It's your kid. It's your body, your choice, your kid, your responsibility, you, right? I have an issue also with mothers and women who refer to things in their house as what I'm doing in my kitchen, in my house. Is it not our house? Is it not our home? I think it's a disease that's inevitable. That's why I'm just like, maybe I just don't do it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a disease you can't avoid. This whole stuff I'm talking about. So anywho, everyone's all feeling so that's the only reason I came to know. I never knew not a single thing. And of course you don't. Because that's what's expected, right? Hayden, through whatever she's gone through, people probably coveted her life, watched her growing up wishing they could be her, called her things like lucky. You guys know how much I hate the concept of luck because I don't think it exists, right? And this is actually a perfect example that a lot of times the people who are in places with things that you think you want are prepared to do things you're not prepared to do, or who are stronger and tougher than you are. Because a lot of people with a lot of this stuff, instead of you making it still and going, like I said with Britney Spears, still performing while she's on drugs, teaching her dancers and all of this, she's on a conservatorship for dementia, doing a Vegas residency, what the hell, when she was teaching her and dancers and stuff. And then people go, and I want to see how many people going through what she was going through with all of that concoction, yeah. Some people in this world, yeah, get a little cough, have a little fever, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you can't even, you call out from work for the day, bearing in mind that you just sit on your ass all day at work. So I actually hate it here. Is that obvious? So then she had written about that in the book, which of course created a backlash. And this goes back to even what I said before about why I say, when people are like, if you go through something, you should speak up, is the biggest bullcrap ever. It's the biggest bullcrap ever, because, and we can see it on both sides and what happened with her. As soon as she spoke out, because let's not forget that they're saying this whole ordeal took place after she, like, not long after she'd done an interview and opened up that when she was like 15, another woman on a boat, like on a yacht, took her into a room where there was a naked man in the bed and put her in the bed, and she ran and hid. And she said he was very famous and she didn't say who he was. So the public, being stupid, be like, oh, you should speak up. Look where she's at now. Look where she's at now. No longer with us. And she didn't even name the person. She didn't even name the guy. No men's names were harmed in that what you call it? Confession. Y'all, this is crazy. Quick side note, guys. It is unbelievable how incompetent people are and just incapable. I'm at the self-checkout. I'm thinking, bada bing, bada boom. I'm in, I'm out. Right? 2 minutes. I'll be 2 minutes. I've even forgot what I was talking about. Yeah? The horror of it all. Like 4 of the freaking people needed help. The lady was trying to get out of, because now you got this, you know, they've got the security things, the gates, so you can go out, so you have to scan your receipt. And so I was telling the lady you have to scan your receipt, so I had to go and help her, because the lady who's supposed to be doing it, she wasn't even there. And oh my gosh. It was just horror. And this is what I mean when I'm like, sometimes I just stand there and I'm just like, I actually don't have to be on this planet. I actually don't have to be. Why did I have to be the one to wake up and use my brain? This takes me back to what I'm talking about here. Like, I remember. So you get stuck between 2 things, right? You either have the public just, you know, the media taking advantage of why I'm talking about why people don't speak up, right? The media who take advantage of any little crumb of detail they can use to invalidate your story, right? And then there's the other flip side, is that if your trauma, whatever it is that you need to speak up about, isn't acceptable enough, yeah, because she had both, if you think about it. I don't know what the word would be for it, because we don't have a word, because we don't believe it exists, because we pretend it doesn't. Because as soon as you push a child out of your womb, you're infallible, right? But like the exploitation, I guess, of her mother, bad move, because every single parent in the world is going to swoop in and be like, you don't know what it's like, without knowing anything. And you know why I think that actually happens? I'll tell you why. Because you're guilty. See, one thing about me that I've realized, and I've realized in life, is I don't be getting offended when somebody makes a comment about a group of people I'm a part of, unless I'm guilty of what they're saying about said group of people. That's why I don't really care what people say about a lot of things. That's why you won't really catch me losing my head if somebody like even is like racist or stuff like that, right? Or talks in a certain kind of way, or like calls me like a monkey because I'm a black person, because, well, I'm not. Why am I so upset? There's something within me that doesn't love myself enough in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I feel like a lot of times the reaction is from guilt, where it's like, you're guilty. You're guilty. And that's why you're sweeping in. So she had nowhere to go. She had nowhere to turn to. She had nowhere to run. She had no one to speak up on, because the industry can't even turn that into a story, because she's now speaking up against the industry, which you can't do. And I wonder who this super famous actor is. And no surprise, they're super famous, being a weirdo. And again, all these super famous people, like growing up, I always thought it was really weird how people would be like really like wanting to be with celebrities. Like, oh my gosh, the top 10 hottest men in Hollywood and all this. When I was growing up, I was thinking, this is so cringe. Yeah, this is so cringe. Like, because a lot of them, I didn't even think were that like good looking. I feel like, I don't know, guys, is it just me? Are we just that enslaved? I feel like you see much better looking people just walking around on a day-to-day basis. In fact, I probably seen more good looking people out of my walk today, men and women, than I'd seen in all whatever media, online media I've consumed over the last, I don't know, maybe 3 days. But that's how people be. So what was she really going to do? And this is why I get really annoyed with society and why I speak up on this stuff, is because you can't speak up. Because even me speaking up, when I speak up myself on behalf of somebody else, like I said earlier in the video, I'll speak up on behalf of kids and I'll call out things because I'm actually worried, because I'm seeing children actually being affected, right? I'm seeing actually affecting them negatively, the things I'm speaking on. And we're more concerned about shutting me up because I don't have kids, right? Than addressing the facts like, okay, that aside, look what's going on with the child. Is this the bit where I couldn't walk down earlier? I think it is. So let's go like this. Let's go like this. But yeah, so that's where my head is at with that. And that's why I just feel like this whole thing, I really do feel for her, like in so many ways. And I hope that, people will actually start to wake up. And this is why I keep making these videos. And this is also partially why, case in point, that all the topics I'm uncomfortable talking about is this one in particular. And this is why. And this is why. This is why, right? Because I know that this is like the most vicious type of demon you could possibly go after, yeah, is the evil mother. Because that's the most protected, which is why it's the devil's favorite. And I've said this so many times. I say it all the time, and I've gaslit my own self sometimes. I'm like, am I just making it up? Am I making a big deal out of nothing? Like, that's what I'd be going through behind the scenes, But then when I'm looking at all the data of like all the kids I've known throughout the years, yeah, all the mothers I've also been around, because that's the other thing. Because I've been in people's houses and been there like while they're living their lives, doing their things, and I'm helping look after the kids. And a lot of the times, even with that, the women don't really want the kids. That's why I was hired. Because I'm in there and I'm like, I remember there was one time I was hired like to work at this family's house, yeah. And I used to go there 3 times a week for like 8 hours a day or whatever. And I remember it was so weird, strange to me, that when I would be at the house, their mum was a stay-at-home mother, right? When I would be at their house, I found it so strange that when there was stuff that like needed doing, I would always think like she would spend no time in the entire day with her children, none at all. And I used to think that was so odd, because I was like there'll be opportunities where she would get like a bit of time where she could possibly like actually have an hour to spend with them, or 2 hours, whatever. And because I could do the thing that she was doing. Let's say it's stuff like washing the dishes and stuff like that. And she'd be like, oh, no, it's fine. Because she didn't want to be around them. And I'm not talking about needing a break. I'm talking about she didn't actually want to be around them, like, ever. Because even then, when I then found out how she ended up in the situation she ended up in, turns out she got with a man who had kids. She didn't think he'd ever get custody. All he wanted was custody, and he had the facilities to facilitate it happening, so it happened. Then when she got with him, she thought, oh, I'm too old now to have a baby. She gets pregnant. It was like Christmas Day for him, and it was like her worst day ever. And that was another environment where I felt very uncomfortable. And I was also used to work in this children's cafe, right? I told you guys about this before. It was like for young kids, like up to age, I think oldest you could bring there was 7. And so I used to hear a lot of conversations with these mums who would come in, and they were all like kind of middle class, because I mean, what most women don't have the money to be taking their kids to spend at this cafe where I worked at like 12 p.m. midday on a Wednesday, right? So they were all this one type of archetype, and they were all the ones who kind of romanticized the idea of motherhood, and they all were like the same carbon copy of each other. And I was like, do we actually care about their kids? You know what I mean? It's like the same thing I would see growing up, and I still see it now, where you have like a mother in full glam, like full hair blowout, perfect nails, eyebrows clearly threaded or however she did it, everything head to toe spotless, and your child is looking like, and I'm like, I know kids get messy and stuff, but it's like, dude, you're out. Like, could you not have just taken like one moment away from like curling your hair this morning so that your child can also look presentable? And like when I used to work at this cafe, yeah, these moms, this is what made me realize some people just also romanticize the idea, but don't actually love the child, because they all would be like, it's like the ones that are like, oh my gosh, let's get pregnant together at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, no. And because they would all come in, yeah, with their kids, and every single one of them, can I please get an oat milk flat white? Every time it was an oat milk flat white, right? And okay, not that good. Tried it. I tried actually all the milks in the store. And the two ladies who opened the shop were also mothers of young kids of those ages. And the one who was like the least interested in just the kids, like she was really there for business, and she used to complain all the time. Like she would romanticize online and like on the website and on the Instagram everything, and like, come and see, we bought this stuff, we're selling this product, we're selling this. But then she would complain constantly about just like everything motherhood, and how she misses the days when she used to go to work and like be away from the kids and whatnot. And I just found it so fascinating how romanticized, and that's what I feel like is the problem, is that it gets very romanticized, and I feel like children almost can become just like a vehicle for something. And a lot of times, you know, and that's why I said before, people like, if you're a woman and you don't feel purpose, you never felt seen, you weren't ever chosen, you like force the love of someone because you're a mother now, so they're like forced to love you, they're forced to accept whatever from you. So it's like the relationship where you get to be the most heinous version of yourself, and societally get away with it, and there's like nothing anybody can say and nothing anybody can do. That's how I feel, you know. And I've always said this because I love this from Shannon Boodram, who had kids. And she was like, I'm not actually looking forward to the baby stages of having a kid. I'm not looking forward to having kids. I'm looking forward to having adults. And I can't wait to form adult relationships with my children. That's what I'm looking forward to. The baby stage is going to be fun and stuff. And I was like, that's the most realistic thing I've ever heard in my life. And the most like, yeah, you got it right there. You got it right. Because your kids are going to be adults longer than they're going to be children. And that's another thing I always look at parents sideways for with their behaviors. When they're doing stuff and they're getting away because they're a child and you just have to listen because this is my house, this is my rules. So then when they move out, it's their house, it's their rules, it's their life now. It goes back to like what I said earlier about my house and my kitchen and my baby and my child. Like, I'm already saying it all. You know, okay, it's yours. So now this is mine. And then that's why we now have this whole new wave of kids going no contact as adults with their parents. And the only reason it's even talked about is because now we have social media, because before these things weren't really exposed because everything could be done hidden, right? You're just in your house and you're just the one-off child living in a situation like this. You're just the one-off situation, right? So everybody thought they were the one-off. Now we have social media and people are speaking up, and people were all able to hear what was really going on and be up to date with things. Now I'm realizing, oh wait, there's another one. And then there's another case. And then there's another case. All of a sudden, it's like, maybe we should think about the fact there's so many cases. Maybe we should think about that. Maybe we should start questioning right? If this is such a rarity, like, was it really rare, or was the information just scarce at this point? You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how I feel about it. That's why I think I have such a dark opinion. That's why I said this whole thing is going to get hella dark, hella fast, right? This isn't just a story of, oh, somebody died, because that's how I think about it, yeah? And I think about this all the time. I think about this like in the context of us and all existing. And you guys know I've never wanted to be alive since the age of 7. And it's just because I think I just always saw the world for what it was, and amongst other things. But I think, imagine that was her entire life. Like, imagine her mother now. You mean to tell me that your love for your daughter was being there, taking her into the commercial world, working her since she was literally 11 months old. She's not even a year. She's not even had her first birthday, right? Putting her out in the public eye, which is something that will affect her for the rest of her entire life. When she grows up and she tries to speak up for herself, you become the enemy of her progress, and you become the one who's swooping in to defend yourself and to feel sorry for yourself, right? And the world is in agreement with you. She then struggles and goes through whatever she does, with all these drugs and things. And again, as a mother, what happened to mother's intuition? All these mothers who are with kids in Hollywood and stuff. Where's your mother's intuition? I thought we all had this intuition, and a mother always knows. And a mother, this is something I don't want that word to be associated with me whatsoever. Because where was all of that with all these kids in Hollywood? You mean to tell me you were there taking them to set and all this and you never noticed nothing? Right. And then now, after all is said and done, you then became the enemy of her growth and her development. You still couldn't humble yourself in your old age, because that's what I'm saying. People, as they get older, they're just prideful. And then now she's dead. So her whole life, she was just a tool for you to feel better about yourself and for you to use. And that's what I think is the reality. That's why I've been saying, I'm actually trying to find a single reason that is a selfless reason for having a child. Because to me, the only one I can think of is you have the facilities, right? And that is emotionally, financially, physically, even in relationships, because I feel like adults these days talk about, like, are ready to break up homes too casually. Oh, it's fine. The kids spend half the time here and half the time there. I'm not okay with that. I don't think that's good enough. Because God allowed that child to come to those two parents because he's entrusting them. That's what I'm saying. Judgment Day is going to be a real interesting day. It's going to be a real interesting day. Because none of this nonsense is going to fly. That's why I'm saying it now. Like, let's address the hard thing, and let's accept that we don't like it, but it's true now. Because the day is going to come where we're going to have to face that anyway. Like, it's going to happen. We're going to have to face the Lord one day. And all of these excuses and stuff that we give ourselves as humans on earth, none of it's going to fly when we get there. None of it's going to fly when we get there. So that's why I'm like, how about we just address the truth now, and we just actually think about it? You know what I mean? How about we actually think about it as we're here in the here and now? Because I was even thinking that it's crazy that we live in a society where the women are arguing more about abortion and stuff. We have more laws for that, and yet we're still here paying for period products. So we were more concerned about making sure that if we want to kill our baby, we get to kill our baby. If I want to have unprotected sex and I want to be all over the show, right? Of course, a lot of kids can happen, unwanted, even when people have tried to have contraception. But again, hey, abstinence is the only true form of contraception. Let's be real. And we fight hard for things like that. We fight hard I want to keep the kids, but then the basic things about why is that not part of it? Because that doesn't necessarily serve you in whatever you want and however you want to see yourself. Because I do believe, this is maybe my hot take here, a lot of women want to have children to make themselves look good. Because like I said, as a mom, like I said, just all the mums all sitting there. Yes. And oh my gosh, at the Children's Cafe, the year that I was working there, oh my gosh, they all freaking named their child the same name. And I'm now seeing it in circulation. Isla. Isla. I could not believe it, yeah? I was like, what in the sheephood is going on? I'm telling you, because we had Santa come and they all got gifts because we had a special day one where there was a Christmas celebration and whatnot. And it was really sweet, the whole thing. When I tell you, so we had to put names for the kids on their gifts and stuff. Because when they book, they have to book, we can only have a certain, whatever. Isla. I was just like, this is just another book club. It's kind of like, it's just another club that people want to belong in, to feel something. Like I say about Christians, like I heard another lady say just before I came out, yeah? And she's so onto it. She was like, um, um, people want to praise Jesus, but they don't want to be Jesus or something like that. How about instead of praising the name of Jesus, become Jesus or whatever she said, be the Jesus. How about instead of praising Jesus, be the Jesus? I can't remember how she put it. She put it really well. And I'm like, exactly, but it's not about that. It's about, so I'm saying everybody, in my opinion, most things that most people are doing are deeply selfish is what I'm trying to say. That's why I say love don't live here, because it don't. Love does not live here. There's a lot of people making decisions based on things. And like I said, I feel like looking at it from the outside, people look at me sideways when I say I don't want to have a child, as if like, well, what are you going to like, what are you going to say your life meant? My life meant everything I'm doing now. I'm working to make meaning out of my life. Because why would I put the pressure and the weight of the world onto my child's shoulders of being my like trophy that I have to parade around to prove that I'm good at something, or to prove I achieved something? I'll achieve something my damn self, right? And then if I have kids, I'll be like, this is how cool I am. This is how cool I am. And hopefully I would rather inspire them by how cool I am for them to be the best version of whoever they want to be. And I'll be like, see if you can beat me. Rather than clinging on to them in some like, oh, okay, you please. You know what I mean? It's all giving off the same energy. It's the same way, like I say about, like in like a lot of these, cultures, especially like African culture I'll speak for, because I come from, oh, we want our children to be a doctor, a lawyer. We want you to be this, whatever. Yeah? Why? So you can go and brag to the other aunties at church. Hey, my child, yeah. They became and I see it. You want your child to work 12 hours a day, have no life, yeah, just so that you can show off to the aunties at church. Get me out of here, guys. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up here. I've been talking enough. You get the picture, you get the gist, and yeah, this is unfortunately I think where we're headed. So I'm going to have to do some real deep diving in my faith, because I know this demon, yeah, behind all of this. He don't like me. Rest in peace to Hayden, and to all of you guys out there. Listen. We don't have to accept the world standards for how they are, and we certainly don't around here. But what I will say is the dark thing you should take away from all of this is the fact that we have to fight so hard for certain things, like the things I'm talking about. Just goes to show that the world really is a dark place, and we really are living in hell. And it's only going to change when we can finally like grow up, humble ourselves, and face up to the truth of things. That's the only way. And if we really love the kids, that's what I'm saying. If I really love my children that I'm going to have, that's what I would do. And that's why I'm doing that. And until I cross over that bridge, that's why I'm not having them. And I just walked over a bridge as well. On that note, if life's the aim, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. I'll see you in my next one.